In this episode you will see a battle in the virtual world with the dangerous inhabitants of the dark forest. Yui stumbles upon a terrifying magical monster that terrorizes everyone around him. Will he overcome his fear and defeat the monster, or will he chicken out and hide in the shadows? We are about to find out. Yuya remembered the words of the Night Princess of the local lands in virtual reality. About how those monsters that the guy defeats with ease, huge squads of trained troops, can't be defeated for months. They get tossed around like ragtag toys. In his own time, he can take down several monsters with a couple of strokes. After wandering the wilderness for a while longer, Yuya decided to return to the real world. It was not a vicious growl, but rather a cry for help. It was the squeak of a small dog-like animal being attacked by a huge orc, who clearly didn't want to do him any good. As much as the guy wanted to help this poor creature, he would not be able to stand up to an opponent as powerful as this huge monster. His head tells him to leave, but his heart can't let this situation just go. You have to at least try, you can't just walk away like that. Grandpa would never do such a thing. With all his strength in his fist, the boy grabbed his sword in his hands and ran at the monster. After hitting it once to divert the beast's attention, he was surprised to find that he had killed it. With just one blow. Had he really gotten that far in this world? Or could it be all about the weapon he had on him? Who will win? Ignore, evil criminal. Like and subscribe, doggy. The little beast that looked like a dog and raccoon was in a fighting stance. No wonder, he had just survived a dangerous attack, so he can't trust any human right away. To remedy this situation, Yuya took a healing potion out of his bag. It might not taste as good, but it works great. Grabbing the bottle out of his hands, the beast quickly drank the contents and recovered. At the same time, he realized that this hero could be trusted. After talking a little with this dog, Yuya learned that his parents had disappeared, so he was all alone in this world and defenseless. The boy couldn't just leave the little guy in the dangerous forest, so he offered to let him stay with him. So he pumped up the taming skill on top of that. He had to come up with a name for him. Since he is black as night, Yuya decided to call him Night. The two quickly found a common language, strange as it may sound, and became friends. From the virtual world, Yuya dragged Night into the real world. At school, he shared the news with his friends that he had gotten a little puppy. And it was true that the little beast looked a lot like a doggy, so being in the real world wasn't difficult for him. The disguise was excellent. Of course, my classmates asked to see a picture of the little beast. It turned out that Yui didn't have a smartphone. It was because he had never used one before. After school, the boy has to go to the pet store to buy food and things for the pet. The boys couldn't go with him because everyone had something to do after school. But Keed could. She was free today, so she agreed to accompany Yui on the trip to the store. In the evening the boy returned home and was finally greeted not by loneliness, but by someone who loves him. It's an amazing feeling worth living for. The trip to the store turned out to be very successful and interesting. They bought lots of goodies for the doggy, a collar, a leash, and toys. The collar really fit and Night liked it. Since they had bought a leash, it was time to test it. Yui and Night went for their first walk together in the real world. Thanks to the boy's good looks and the equally good looks of his dog, everyone around them was fascinated. They had never seen such a harmonious union between man and animal. It was as if they were perfect for each other. While walking in the park, the boy met Kaori. He introduced her to Night. The dog attracted her friend, she stroked him and immediately fell in love with this miracle. The scene was like something out of a movie. People all around stopped just to watch it. But our boy and Kaori weren't the least bit embarrassed by it, and Night was none the least embarrassed. When asked about the breed and the story of how he found this puppy, Yui made up a legend that he was just walking down the street and saw this beautiful boy. The guys at the park were also met by a passing Mio. Some reunion night it turned out to be. She lived in the neighborhood and that's why she came to the park often. What a coincidence. Yui introduced the girls. For the people around here, the real show had already begun. How could so many beautiful people gather in one place? This was definitely a first in this park. After a nice chat, Mio ran off to run some errands, something they were drawing too much attention to themselves. It so happened that Yui liked Kaori, but seeing his interaction with Mio gave her the impression that they were a couple. But she quickly dispelled such conjecture. They had just worked on a photo shoot together for a while, that's all. Especially since he's not going to continue in that line of work. So there's no reason for such thoughts. The pleasant atmosphere of the evening was interrupted by a woman screaming. She was screaming about a thief running into the park. He had snatched her bag and was now trying to get away. Quickly orienting himself to the situation, Yui gave Knight the command to grab the intruder. While the dog chased after the intruder, Knight and his girlfriend decided to help the woman. By this time Knight had already grabbed the man and was snatching the bag back. The perpetrator was caught and all that was left was to call the police and return the items to their owners. This made the thief very angry, and he took out a knife and lunged at Kaori. She was lucky that Yui was there. He quickly intercepted the attacker's arm and immobilized him. They safely waited for the police, handed the criminal over to them and dealt with the unpleasant situation. After such a stressful day, you can play a game. There with Knight is somehow less scary wandering around in the dark woods. With each passing day, Yui explores more and more new territory. Things are somehow getting easier with her friend. They started destroying enemies even faster. They make a great team. While wandering through the forest, they came across a crystal deer. It was quite a strong opponent, for it could wield magic. Despite the camouflage, the deer sensed trouble. He had no choice but to attack. The opponent was indeed very strong. For the first time in a long time Yui felt real resistance. It was necessary to split up to deceive the enemy. A couple of deft moves and there the opponent was defeated. Thanks to this monster, Yui found a lot of useful resources. For example, a nice, warm bathtub in which you can relax. Then the couple was attacked by a new adversary, rolling back and forth like a bowling ball. An armored bowling ball. Its armor was not easy to penetrate. It was made worse by the sharp barbs on its armor. No matter how fast and dangerous his opponent was, Yui would be able to overpower him. With the help of his sword and wits, he still managed to win. It is surprising that along with the guy's level, Knight's level also went up. They were sort of connected to each other. Here they found some dark cave, which they decided to explore. There they found someone's corpse, next to which was a sage book. What kind of book is it? In what language is it written? It is unknown, but apparently it is here for a reason. In such a secluded place, in the most dangerous forest, in a cave.